All right, welcome into another edition of Catching Up with Tommy Mac podcast here on 1010XL's podcast platform, 1010XL.com, the 1010XL app. Of course, we're live on Facebook. We are filming inside of 1010XL podcast studios here at the radio station. That'll go on the 1010XL Jaguar YouTube channel, and that will go all over the place, all over social media, wherever you watch. Listen to your favorite podcast. Brought to you by Team Tommy Mac, of course, a great group of businesses that I love to represent. They're part of the Tommy Mac brand because why? Because they're always there when you need them. No question about it. Need new flooring? Well, you go to Carpet Man. I'm wearing it right here. It's more than just LVP. Carpet Man's LVP. More than just that. He's got tile, hardwood, carpet, all, you name it. He's got it all at the highest quality and offered at the lowest prices. Check them out, carpetman.biz. Funny enough, sidebar, I still get people, man, I just saw your commercial. I said, man, that thing's been running for 2 years. That's pretty cool. Getting a lot of play out of it, and love representing Carpetman and everybody at Team Tommy Mac. We got a lot to get into. Just got off the minicamp practice, number one of our Jags. We'll take a look at that, news and notes, what I saw, what's happening around the team. Will also look at what's happening around the league, and there are some defensive backs available. You got to wonder how we feel about that, but we'll talk about that and more after we welcome in my man Grammage, working hard, getting this show going. Hey, Grammage.
Good morning, sir.
How are you, buddy?
Well, not even morning. I'm just used to saying good morning. But
it's afternoon now, but just turned. New noon. Here
that's
you
right.
go.
That's right.
How's it going? Good
Not
weekend?
bad. Not bad. Yes, sir. Good weekend.
Okay. Good.
Busy weekend. Doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And
The
you and I.
stuff.
What's up?
Moving into the new place,
Yep.
newlywed, all that new stuff. Yeah.
And you and I have something in common.
Okay.
Because I know you were part of the Nancy Dance Dance recital.
I was. Yes,
I was
sir.
not a part of the recital, but I was at a recital last night.
Oh, you were?
Scott Jones recital
Oh,
last night
at the Florida Theater?
At
Where was it?
Jacksonville Center for Performing Arts.
Okay.
Right there on the water. So they're about
okay. So
they're
we
about
were
3
there-
hours.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We were there Saturday and Sunday. The Times Union Center.
Yeah.
Right on the water?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great great arena.
Had 2 cousins and a niece
Okay,
in it.
cool.
So yeah.
Yeah, we know the Joneses. They're great people, man. Actually, Heather and my wife cheered together.
Oh yeah,
with the
yeah.
roar.
Yep.
Yeah,
Very
way
cool.
back
Very cool.
when, way back when. All right, so first of all, congrats to Logan Cook. We saw it coming, right? I mean, he deserves it. He's one of the best in the league. He was the highest paid punter in the league until it looks like today, I think, because the Seahawks just gave their kicker, Michael Dixon, a increase in pay, a 4-year, $16.2 million deal. And, of course, Logan at 4 years, $16 million. Congratulations to him and his family. Look, man, the guy's incredible. Having a great punter is so important for your team, man, as far as especially field position. You know, getting yourself out of a jam and then pinning them back. Those are the two major things you need out of your punter. Not only that they can boom it out of trouble and flip the field, they also got to pinpoint it. They also got to, put it in the right spot as well. So tell you what, man, that's nothing better than knowing that punter, kicker, snapper, all together, they're all great. You don't have to worry about them. It's like a great left tackle I don't have to worry about. I got to worry about my special teams specialists on this team. They are top-notch all the way. So congrats to Logan Cook, man. He absolutely deserves it, and he's going to he'll have another big year. No question about it.
That punt against the Packers, I still think it's
like 70.
I think it's
78 yards, something like that.
I think it's the best punt I've ever seen in my life.
Just think about flipping the field like that. You're on your own 20, boom, you kick it. Now they're on their own 20.
To get it the way he punted that ball, to get it all the way down the sideline and roll out at the 1.
Yeah.
Insane.
No doubt.
I couldn't believe when I watched it, I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like,
yep.
Did I just watch that happen?
So good. Barker, our punter, he was great at pinning them deep. He was great at pinpointing, directional punting, had a great leg, was a total pro, always working on his game. I mean, literally always just trying to, put in the bucket, how they put the garbage cans out, all that kind of stuff. He was And it's such a weapon. You don't think of it as a weapon, but it's a big weapon. Obviously, a kicker, you need your kicker, but a punter, man, they're like the unsung hero each and every year.
Well, if they're
You got a
good,
punter, man, he can help you out a lot.
if they're good at pinning teams inside like the 5,
Yep.
I mean, Tommy, that's 2 extra first downs I have to get to keep my drive alive when I get the ball
exactly.
back.
Yeah, sure.
Versus a touchback.
That's right.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And I got to change my entire play calling because I can't risk any negative plays or I'm getting a safety or maybe even a turnover for a touchdown.
I can't throw the bomb right off the bat. Maybe I'll take a chance and do it, but I better be in shotgun. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. But congrats to Logan. I think it's fantastic. No question about that. All right, came out of mini camp. I thought at the most perfect time, right as I walked up, 11 on 11, red zone, right in the end zone as you walk in. And it was a great bird's eye view to check them out. Listen, today the defense, the offense made plays. Trevor and the guys made plays. Mullins made a few plays. But overall, the defense, they won the day. Now, it's not totally fair because when you're not in pads, it's hard to determine, the blocking of the O-line. You know what I mean? So, but a few of the pads, you're going to hear, what great throws and catches. And some of them were, but 2 or 3 of those, the quarterback would have been dead. Not dead like we used to call it, kill shots. Can't do that anymore, but he'd have been sacked. But he still made the throw and was great and that kind of thing. I tell you what, it was interesting. Travis Hunter was on the defensive side of the ball today. And this is not a shot at all, but I didn't even notice him. He was not with the ones, I know that. And for the record, Dramage, maybe you can help me out. Because I've been told, I'm not going to tell you by who, and it doesn't matter, but internally, that I have to be careful with particulars that I see out there. Okay. What does that even mean? I'm not going to tell the deep, dark secrets, but I can't say so-and-so lined up here, so-and-so lined up there.
Yeah, I guess. That's kind of always been a moving target.
Sometimes the Jags don't like you saying, whatever. I don't know. Listen, all I know is this, is Brown and Campbell came out with the ones. And by the way, Campbell made some great plays. He made some really good plays. It was good overall. Look, it's hard. They're getting, when you're trying to block and the other guy across from you is not wearing, pads and you're not wearing pads, how hard, am I going full out to stop him? Or am I going to initially give him a jolt and maybe try to control him for a second and then let him go? You know what I mean? So you don't know. Would they have been sacks? It appeared to me they would, but maybe they wouldn't if they held on to him a little bit longer. So that's why you can't get so caught up in what happens out there. Now, if you're throwing a bunch of picks all over the place, yeah, no, that's not good at all. Broswell had a nice pick in the end zone. That was against Mullins, I think, or Johnny Wolford. But he had a nice pick. That was a fun day out there. Fun day to watch. They still teach a little bit too much, but they were getting after it. They did 2-minute. 2-minute drill was the defense won, man. They really won, And it's kind of to be expected. I bet you tomorrow it'll be a little bit different. I bet you tomorrow the offense will be a little bit more in sync.
Yeah.
I hope Travis is on the offensive side. That's who, again, I made it clear. If he doesn't play corner at all, I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me. And I don't care.
If he's a great receiver.
Right. If he's a great receiver, he's a great receiver. He's worth number 2 all day long and trading up for him. So if that's better for, look, these depth charts, they matter a little bit. They're not set in stone. They're not all in ink. Some are in pencil, right? Like Mason Smith was not in the starting D-line. He was almost third team. You didn't notice him till a couple little changes, at least starting off. And then they rotate after that. So you're like, okay, that's interesting. D-Ham's there. He's been around. Look, D-Ham must be showing him something. Maybe they're giving him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they're saying, all right, you know what? Let's see if anybody can beat him out. You know what I mean? I don't think it's any kind of message or anything like that. Just like with Broder or with Buster and Campbell starting today. I don't think that says like anything. Just says this is who my guys are right now.
That doesn't mean that Jarian Jones is all of a sudden a special teams guy that never sees the field.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
like there's a lot more. Look, Wingard came out with the ones. I'm not going to be totally shocked if that happens, but he came out with the ones, him and Murray, So, but the defense, look, it's hard to tell when there's a rush and they can't really block it up, Some good and some bad. So the big thing, I get here, and I'm asked about Trevor, his sling, and it was not his sling, his sleeve. But supposedly there was a tweet put out there that he was in a sling. Did you see this? And Ian Rappaport, retweeted it.
No.
He practiced the whole time I was there. He wasn't in I barely even noticed the sleeve, to be honest with you. I just didn't really notice. Practicing, you practice. Maybe you're wearing it for look, or I don't even pay attention to it, I guess. And he threw the ball fine. He made some good throws, I think with Trevor, and I'm not Mr. Quarterback Genius by any means, but I tell you, Grammage, his issue is waiting till they're open, I think. He waits too long to throw the ball. He wants to make sure they're open. Like there was a deep pattern today, one-on-one with Campbell and BT, Brian Thomas Jr. And Trevor's got time to throw it. And he just, you can see, by the way, you can see Udinski in the back, motioning, let it go, let it go, let it go. He waits a little bit. It hangs a little bit, and Campbell makes the play. Great play. But if he throws it early, maybe Brian Thomas Jr. can speed up and grab it. I mean, that's your only hope. It wasn't a jump ball situation at all. It wasn't like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a great play by Tyson Campbell. It's a great play. But if you throw that thing earlier, you got a better chance of making that thing happen.
BTJ in stride doesn't tend to drop the ball ever, even in contested.
Yeah, right.
I think of, I want to say it was back-to-back. No, it wasn't back-to-back weeks.
Listen, he got his hand. He didn't almost come down with it because Tyson made a great play. But he had his hands on it for a second. Tyson knocked him and, came off. But, I mean, look, I'm glad Tyson's doing that. I'm glad he's feeling healthy, and because that's a full-on sprint down the field, one-on-one with one of the faster guys on the team. So that's a good sign. Trev threw a late ball to Parker when that first drill in that red zone. Parker ran a little seam sit-down hook, if you will. He had him open, just a split. I mean, it almost like he saw him, thought for a second, then did it, and Campbell came over. I think it was Campbell, might have been Jones, came from corner outside in and knocked it away. But it should have, if it was a little bit quicker, I think it would have been a touchdown. So just those things, they're not big things, but they do have to get cleaned up. But I think that's what Liam is talking about when it comes to the footwork and the decision-making. Like, letting it go. Like, look, in your head what? You got 3 seconds or less. Or you're getting out of dodge. That's in your head. It's clicking. And it's clicking in your receivers' heads, too. I remember Pete Mitchell used to tell me, he's like, all right, so each route I know I got so many seconds that he's going to throw me the ball. But if I don't get a clean break, I got to subtract those seconds that I didn't get a clean break. So if it's Sam Backer, I can't shake him right away. Holds me up for a second. Well, I got in my head, subtract that second into the total seconds that I'm expecting the ball.
So maybe I got to break off a little sooner.
I break off earlier, or I look earlier, or something like that. It's all that timing,
Well, and even, any level of football when you're going through routes and stuff, I mean, there's tons of routes that any offense has where if it's an in-breaking route, for example, and the whole point is you're supposed to get to the opposite shoulder of a linebacker or something, it's pretty much always taught that once you get around there, the ball is going to be there.
Right.
It's not you're going to go see the quarterback and he's going to throw it.
Right.
The ball's going to be there.
Right.
And that's what you're saying. That's how it's supposed to be. So I've noticed that watching Trevor in games as well. Tua Tagovailoa has struggled with the same thing, and I think it's It's
because they're always open in college.
correct.
They're just open. You throw it to them.
There's
no real anticipation is what I'm saying.
Yes, because you're dealing with guys that got used to throwing to Jerry Jeudy and T. Higgins and Amari Rodgers and all these different guys at Bama and Clemson that were always a step and a half open,
right?
And you had that extra second to make sure it's there and do it. We've talked about this before. I've told you. I listened to Todd McShay one time talk about Jaden Daniels, and how in college the biggest leap he made from year 1 to 2 was year 1 he would never throw interceptions, and it drove Brian Kelly crazy because the media would be praising him so much for not throwing picks, but it's because he was waiting too long to throw it, and he was sacrificing productivity in the offense in order to not turn the ball over.
Right.
And by year 2, he learned to trust things a little bit better and just throw what he knows with confidence is going to be there. He wins the Heisman Trophy. They're one of the best offenses. Yeah. And that's the same thing is true here in the NFL. That you're right, it's a small thing, but it could yield big results.
Well, just look, you're supposed to throw to a point on every pass.
Yeah.
And the receiver's supposed to be at that point. So you do have to have anticipation to the point.
Right.
When you're throwing that ball. And it does factor in, differently with different receivers or targets. So some guys are faster than others. Some guys run the route a little bit different. But you got to throw it on time. You can't wait till – and listen, I'm not going to make a mountain out of it. It's not a molehill, but it's not – it's very correctable, and I think that's what they're working on. It's almost like – I'm almost like, Liam, just tell them, hey, man, within 3 seconds, just get rid of the ball. I don't care where it goes. I mean, I don't care where it goes, but if you throw a pick, if you throw a bad – I just want you to get into that habit of this ball has got to come out. And I know where I'm going with the ball for the most part.
Something that's interesting, Tommy, and people see it if they watch like the All-22 film and stuff sometimes, or if they watch like the lineman view of film. The lineman view is always behind, so you can
end zone view.
Yes. So I'll never forget at the start of last season, I went down to the Dolphins game, and my buddies and I, we sat in the nosebleeds up in the end zone.
Yep.
But because we're in the end zone, you see this stuff develop, and it's such a different view from the TV view.
Yep.
And I'll never forget the throw Trevor. Everybody knows what throw I'm talking about. The touchdown pass to BTJ.
Yep.
He was BTJ's first touchdown of his career.
It was phenomenal.
It's one of the best throws Trevor has probably ever made in his life. It was that good.
Yep.
And it was incredibly accurate, obviously. It went to the exact spot. But it was that anticipation. The throw when the ball left his hand was not there.
No, right.
But he wasn't throwing it to Brian Thomas Jr.
Right.
He was throwing it to a spot that Brian Thomas Jr. was going to be in between the corner and safety.
And over the backers or whoever's
yes.
in. Yeah, it was a beautiful, one of his most spectacular throws, without a doubt.
And when he does those things, it lets you know it's in there.
Right.
It lets you know the ability is clearly there.
Right.
It is that a bit, and I think the progression through the Doug Peterson and Press Taylor offensive years, Trevor trusted with his full heart a lot of times what they were calling and doing, and he threw with more anticipation. Versus, I believe, as things started to kind of crumble a little bit in 2023, and then clearly into 24. That hesitation was clearly there.
Well, listen, if they're running the wrong routes, how can you anticipate anything?
Exactly.
And it wasn't all the time, but it was enough to where you're like, well, how do I anticipate throwing? Like that one route, the route where one guy goes on this side. Sometimes they go to the same side, they'll come across and then over, clear out the safety, come over the crosser. They ran it like 5 times a game, right? Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. How do you anticipate that? When he tried that one time, it was a pick. That was against either Green Bay or Houston. Green Bay. He tried to anticipate it, but the receiver didn't clear out the safety in time, and he tried to throw it to the point that the safety center going, just reach up and pick this ball off. So that's, in his defense, that doesn't help with that. I think with Trevor too, and they're working on. I know they are. Just those throws where it's like, look, we all want to see the big play. Right? But take what's there, or don't force it. For instance, and I know people probably be out there like, I don't agree with that. Whatever. The throw to Johnson, the running back, that everyone's like, why are you calling that play? Why are you calling that play?
Against the
Why?
Eagles.
And I sit there say the same thing, but then I also say, well, wait a minute. It's first down. Why force the throw? Why even make the throw? You don't have to throw the football. You know what I mean? It's not there. Go take off and run. Throw it away. Live another down. You got 3 more downs. So that's got to be.
You're talking about the pick that lost the game against the Eagles.
Against the Eagles, yes. Thank you.
At the end of the Nakobe Dean picked it off to win the game.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right down the left sideline. Thank you for that.
I'm glad you brought that up because I agree with you on that. And I remember during when that happened, you and I on the show discussing that. Like, yeah, people were killing Doug and Press because they always wanted to kill Doug and Press whenever anything went wrong instead of Trevor. And they deserved a ton of blame, don't get me wrong. But I agreed with you in that scenario.
On that play.
Because it's first down. And I think the thinking when that play is called has to be, okay, they're worried about BTJ. They're worried about these other guys. So there's a chance that as they kind of take everybody to the right side, Dearness slips out he might get lost in coverage and he might be wide open.
Right. If he's got a step, you throw it.
And if he is, of course, throw the ball and you probably score a touchdown and it's great.
Yep.
But yeah, when it's not there, man, if you can run. If you can't throw it to row E of the stands, man.
That's just that game management awareness we've been talking about, this offseason. There are other plays. And look, again, there's all the good ones. Don't get me wrong. But there are other plays where it's third down and guys covered down the sideline, and you're you got a guy open nearby on the first down mark, and you just don't see him. You just don't throw it to him. Just those things, take what they give you, take what they give you, so you can dink and dunk. And by the way, when you dink and dunk enough, what happens? You lull them, and then boom, you hit them with a big one. They're like, I'm really screwed.
And I got a guy named Brian Thomas Jr., by the way, that's going to get behind your deepest guy. And it's worth mentioning, too, like that anticipation that we're talking about is incredibly hard to do and get, like,
without a doubt.
What makes, and it's also hard to know that feel in the game and situation of when you should and shouldn't do certain things within that anticipation, right? So, like, to me, what makes Mahomes the best quarterback in the game is nobody has a better feel for it than him. Nobody has a better sense of, okay, it's the first quarter, we're up 7. I can be a little bit riskier with this throw versus, okay, it's 2nd and 6 in the 4th, we're down 3. I can't turn it over here.
Right.
I
need a first down. I need a first down,
and I know, okay, it's 2nd down. Maybe I'll scramble and just get 2.
Yep.
But that makes my life easier.
Yeah.
3rd and 4th. Like, it's that forward thinking, and it's really, really hard to pull off.
You believe so much in your arm.
Yeah.
You believe, and Trevor's got a great arm. All the Mahomes, they all have a great arm. They believe in that arm. Like, little window, swing. I'm going for it. But you got to hone it in, which those guys do. Josh Allen is a perfect example. He used to be a wild horse, man. They've corralled him in and honed him in, and now he's definitely more efficient with the football. And if you remember, after 2022, what were we saying on this show? That's his trajectory. Like, you can almost see him go. Now, I'm not saying they're the same player, but similarities in at least what Trevor's game could be. You know what I mean? And then it didn't go that way. And then Josh kept going up and doing better.
They have a lot of similarities, in my opinion, in terms of strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, for sure.
I
agree with that.
They make a lot of similar great highlight plays. Josh makes more.
Yep.
And when they make boneheaded plays, they oftentimes look the same.
Right. He makes the routine ones, though. So
like,
he's more consistent with throws.
Yeah.
But you're right. When he makes boneheaded decisions, throwing it into traffic, believing in that arm. So I don't care if there are 3 guys coming in. I'm going to sizzle it right through. He's going to catch it, and it's going to be glorious. And it is. That's the thing. You want to repeat that glory, man. You throw a touchdown pass or catch. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable. You want to keep doing it. You believe, and that's good to be. You got to have that in your QB. You also got to have a heady QB that knows that, hey, man, knows the situation and knows that I can't miss this. I got to make it.
I remember, I think it was still 2022. I think it was the same season. It might have been 23, whichever one. That crazy Bills-Vikings games that went to overtime where Justin Jefferson made that ridiculous catch.
Yep.
It was in Buffalo.
Yeah, right.
I watched that whole game, and the Bills lost in overtime because they were moving the ball, about to score, and Josh Allen threw one of the worst interceptions I've ever seen somebody throw in a critical situation.
Yep.
And
I remember that.
it was in a worse situation, but it was in the red zone. It was an eerily similar throw to the interception Trevor made against Denver a few years back in London, where
I didn't see the same.
they're on like
Josh Simmons picked them off. Right,
and I distinctly remember David Garrard talking about this on Jaguars Today one time, and I thought it was really interesting because I never thought about this. He said one of the first things I was taught when I got to the league, David said, was you can't throw it through people.
Right.
Just because you have a great arm,
right,
doesn't mean it doesn't mean I'm going to throw it so hard it's going to go right through that guy.
Yeah.
This isn't a video game. You know what I mean?
Right,
like he's picking it off probably.
Yeah.
And that balance between throwing with anticipation and not doing that has to be so difficult.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's repetition. That's all. You got to just, compute it into your body, and this is how I'm throwing it. This is how it's going. This is, and more repetition on. And I think that's what they're gonna clean up for him. And I think, look, again, the physical part's always been there. He's always been tough. He's always had a great arm. He's always been able to move. He is a competitor. I think he really wants to win. I think if they figure out that rhythm and that speed, like Liam's been talking about, I think he could be very dangerous. And then it comes down to the O-line. So the O-line got worked today. And it's, again, please with quotations. They didn't get worked. No one got thrown to the ground or, ragdolled or anything like that. But the D-line and the blitzers, they blitzed a few times. They were in the backfield a lot. And they would have disrupted a lot if it was live. Now, again, you go back to what we're talking about. Now, how much is that just not being in pads? If that was a padded practice and that happened, I'd be like, man, they better figure out this O-line. You know what I mean? But I don't feel that way right now. I'm like, let's just wait and see when the real thing happens. Because, again, it's just hard to go full speed when you're not in. That's how you get hurt if you do that. You know what I mean? When you're not in pads. I'm not going to drive this guy to the ground. It could, I could roll one of my guys up, or whatever. I could hurt him. I don't want to hurt him. He's my team. You know what I mean? So you just don't know the intensity and how far they take it per play.
Well, and the whole point
in order to really be like, yeah, they kicked their ass. But they were in the backfield a lot today.
Well, and the whole point of what they're doing right now is to get acclimated and ready for pads.
Yeah.
Right. So in a perfect world, you know what you're doing a little bit better. You've gone through semi-live reps that aren't really live, but at least with a little bit of pace to them.
Yeah.
So that when the live bullets are flying, it doesn't feel as foreign of a concept.
Right. You're not thinking either. That's a big part of what they do. The OTAs and the mini camp is that install, implementing, and then go playing. You know it so well that you just don't think about it. That'll take some time, but that's what they're working on.
You must have hated practice without pads.
No, it was okay. I mean, we were still, there wasn't a lot. It was different. There wasn't a lot of teaching on the field. It feels like they do a drill, then they teach, they do a drill or two, team drills I'm talking, and then they teach, I don't know. But I don't know. Maybe it does. It's funny. I was talking to Cleo Lemon. He kind of joked about it, but I said, maybe there's some truth to it. Like, how they keep an eye on heart rate and, heat and everything, right? Inside those pads or whatever. Maybe there's something to that. Like, we don't want a consistent games are different than practice. I don't know. It just seems like they do a lot of teaching while they're out there. And again, but look, Doug did it too. I think Marone did it before him. I don't recall Marone as much, but I think they lately that maybe that's just the way it is. So, but I liked. Listen, I had to prove myself all the time, so I was always whatever. And our 9-on-7, there'd be a little bit of physicality, not much, but and then they always ran the dog, out of us, so that was always fun. Good times, man. But you got to do it. You got to set that tone in these mini camps. Like, this is, especially the rookies. Like, this is where you're setting the tone. Like, this is the real first day of this is my team, and it's real from now. Now, we've been working out. We've been doing OTAs. We've been working on things. So it's all important, but now it's real. The depth chart's real, right? Now, like I said earlier, it's not all set in stone, not in pen. Some of it's in pencil. But there's a depth chart now, right? They'll probably be talking about it on 1010XL. These practices matter more than OTAs, right? And you are setting your tone, not only your culture, but just how you run things, how you run your practice, what's expected out of practice. And the veterans have got to show the way so the rooks know, hey, man, this is how we do it, right? It's a pain in the ass, total bitch, but this is how we get better. This is what we're doing. So it is. So it gets heightened. It's great in the process. I was saying earlier on a little report on Facebook, like it's a cool part of the process. We're going from a certain level, which has value, to now the next step, which is going to have more value. Then we get to camp. That'll have more, another step. Then a preseason game, another step. Then we get going. You know what I mean? This is part of the process. So it's very more important than the OTAs, although the OTAs again have value. But it's time for guys to show that they know what they're doing. That's probably number one. As coaches, they want to know. They all know. They all know your strengths and weaknesses. Now they want to know: can you run my offense? Can you play defense in my defense? Do you know the defense? Do you know the offense? Do you know every call? Do you know every blitz? Do you know every whatever? And maybe you don't know all of it yet, but you should know the majority. It should be installed for the most part, right? And then they'll reinstall it, and then they'll reinstall it as they go on, mini camp, training camp, etc. But it becomes more real now, which is awesome. And then we'll see. Again, you keep it in perspective. Like I know, I guarantee you, people on media today are gonna be like, "Oh man, the defense really got after him today," and they did. But you got to keep it in perspective because it's only a certain level of the process. All right, let's take a quick look around the National Football League. Some really interesting news and notes out there. Brought to you by my friends, Team Tommy Mac. Please check out TommyMac.net. They are absolutely fantastic. Always there for you when needed. Carpet Man Flooring, Morgan & Morgan, Chris Lucero's Bail Bonds, J-Dog Junk Removal, Azar Sausage Company, Code Ninjas, Newmark Phoenix Realty Group, Salt Air Inn and Suites, Family Tradition Specialty Foods, Freedom Finance, and the Baracus Group. Always great to represent each and one of them. And you can see them on TommyMac.net. Just click on their logo. It'll take you right to their respective website. Okay, so Indy's got a new ownership. 3 ladies. That's got to be the first time ever, huh? Looks like there'll be 3 women running the Indianapolis Colts organization. I think the Irsay's wife is one of them. I think she's a CEO. I think there's a daughter or 2. I'm not sure, but I'd like to see the cat fights in that. I got 3 daughters. I know what happens at the dinner table. Not everything's kumbaya, if you know what I mean. That should be fun. Should be fun to watch. But hey, what a great legacy for Mr. Irsay to leave behind, huh? Now his family runs it, and hopefully they do a great job. We'll see. Not against us, of course, but in general. But that was interesting. Nick Chubb signs with the Houston Texans. How about that? The former running back for the Cleveland Browns. When healthy, he's a load. I know everyone's like, he can't do it. He can't. But I don't know if he can or not. We're going to find that out. But, man, if he is healthy, he's a tough one to tackle. He's like, he was doing the squats before Saquon. He was the squat guy before Saquon came into the league. Chubb would have like 700 on there, squatting it. Saquon, he does like 600 or 700 or whatever he does. But that'll be interesting. Look, I don't know. Texans got a lot of leftovers, right? They're doing it through veterans more than building it through. They're trying to combine the two, I guess. But, we'll see. I mean, we know who our leftovers are, guys that aren't here any longer. We're not worried about them at all. I'm not worried about Nick Chubb either. I just think if he's healthy, he's a tough one to tackle. Pretty thick dude that can run hard and, likes contact. So maybe he can wear you down. I don't know. I like their running back Mixon, though. He's a good one. I like their – listen, they got a lot of talent. It should be a fun year between the two of us, and then we'll see what the other two do. Let's see. How about Cincinnati's Jermaine Pratt, the leading tackler on a team released They're thinking to make room for Trey Hendrickson's contract. Listen, no disrespect to the linebackers, but I'm taking my pass rusher over a linebacker all day long. Now, if my linebacker rushes like a Micah Parsons, a little bit different story. I'm talking about inside backers that just make a bunch of tackles. No disrespect to anybody that's played that, but if I've got to choose on a team, I need my pass rusher first and foremost. So maybe they're making some room. But somebody's going to get a heck of a linebacker. That guy's all over the place. And not just tackling. I think he had a couple picks and a couple sacks, too, last year. But, look, they got to do what they got to do up there in Cincinnati. When you pay, you got the three-headed monster, right? You got T, you got Jamar, and you got Joe. And Joe's going to get re-upped eventually. That's going to happen eventually, you would think. So when that happens, guys get cut. Jair Alexander gets released, the corner from Green Bay. So that brings Jalen Ramsey, Asante Samuel Jr., and Jair Alexander. Would you want any of them? Grammage?
Yeah.
Which one would you want?
I want Jalen Ramsey to play safety for me.
I'd take him over those three for sure.
I want Jalen to play safety for me.
Okay. Whatever.
He's talked before earlier in his career about playing safety later in his career.
Yeah, he played safety at Florida State. We talked about that last week or last time, I think, right?
I think he would be nasty.
First of all, it always takes two to tango. I know everyone wants to blame TC, but that's the wrong guy to blame. It always takes two to tango. Jalen was young, and he was, he had his sights set on money. He wanted to. I think the Brinks truck kind of told the story. Like, this is what I want. I want to get paid. And to be honest with you, look, I don't run a team, so it's very easy for me to say this. But you look back, you probably should have just paid him. You know what I mean? You probably should have just said, all right, can't take any grief. You can't hit the coach. Remember who was that when Buffalo, when Fournette came off the sideline? Remember that ruckus? And remember Ramsey came off, and Doug tried to get his attention. He kind of did that. He had the, but he was young then. I got to think that he's more mature. He's going to have his swag, but I'd take him back. Now, look, they wouldn't have let Jair Alexander go if he hasn't been injured. He's been injured. When he's not injured, he's a very, very good, one of the top DBs in the game. No question about it. But bringing him here, I think that's, you're hoping he doesn't get injured. I mean, look, I'm still worried that Tyson Campbell could get injured. Just because he's had the history of injuries. Knock on wood for Tyson. Like I said earlier, he's looking really good out there. Made some really good plays today. And has had a good offseason. So, I don't know. But one guy for sure is Ramsey. And I got to think with
the way he talks and competes, man, getting that in
swag,
camp.
Help your defensive line out. He could blitz, too. He's still fast.
Getting that in camp and ramping up that intensity because BTJ doesn't talk a lot, but he competes. Think about between BTJ, Jalen, and Travis.
Yeah.
Those are three dudes that love ball, love to compete, and will get everybody else juiced.
First of all, no disrespect to Wingard or Murray or any of the other safeties, but if Jalen Ramsey wanted to play safety, he'd be an upgrade.
Yes,
he'd just be an upgrade.
Oh, God, yeah.
And you just have to live with it because he's that good of an athlete and a football player. So I'd take him. I would, and I would trust the brass could handle him. That's what I would think, and that would mean the big man, big Baselli, big Bo. Right, he's going to have to can't let anyone come in here and be a problem. I don't care who they are. You can't. You got to get everyone on the same page. Team. Here to win. Everyone's going to get paid that wins. We're all going to get paid. And by the way, if you're a player today, you just hang in there. You're going to get paid. Even the backups are going to get paid. Not like the massive that the starters get, but everyone's going to make money. Everybody. If you stay healthy and you're productive, You're just going to continue to make more and more money because the league's making more. You're going to make more. And then hopefully our pension continues to make more. But it's true. So you're all going to get paid. They're all going to get paid. What level remains to be seen. But, man, if you can put together a great season to start it off, I mean, now we're talking. I don't know how I feel yet. I don't know. I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, yeah, this team looks awesome. I did 10 wins when the schedule came out. That was just my gut reaction. You know, I'm not saying I'm coming off that yet, or I will, but I don't know how I feel about the team yet. I gotta see more. You know, again, it's part of the process. They're fine. They're fine. But guess what? Like I said, out of 32 teams, at least 27 feel great about their team right now. When you agree? Or maybe 25. I'll give you an extra 2 that think, this ain't going to be our year. The rest, we look pretty damn good. We're feeling good. We're running around good. Look at the speed. Look at these rookies. Look at the quarterback. Man, I know he hits them, but he makes great throws anyway. I mean, that's what's going on.
There's a Browns and a Saints in there every once in a while that are just like, they don't feel good about anything. But, other than that, it's Kool-Aid drinking season, Tommy.
Yeah. Well, think about it. I mean, the Jets probably feel pretty good about their team. I bet you the Steelers feel pretty good about their team now with Rodgers in the fold. You know how that works out, we don't know, but they feel better about where they're at. You know, Chicago's got to feel pretty good about their offseason and Caleb for their second year. Houston's got to feel pretty good. If I'm here, San Diego or Chargers, right? I mean,
Vegas.
What?
Vegas.
And I think they're one of the 7. I would think.
You think with Pete Carroll?
First year though, well, Gino's okay. They do get Christian Wilkins back.
They just got Ashton Jenney in the draft, man.
Okay, they're at my bottom, but
I'm saying if you're
how they feel pretty good.
If you're a fan of them, that's what I'm saying.
And the team itself, you're right.
Because
think about that.
Those same fan bases are all looking at the Jaguars and being like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So
they're not worried about us, which is good. It's better to be under the radar. But Chiefs, all day, right? Baltimore, they feel great.
Those teams should though.
No, I know. I'm just saying, but there are other teams that's where they're at. You know, they're feeling good about where they're at.
I feel like you really start to learn a lot about every NFL team and kind of know what they're truly made of by about week 6. You know, like because 2-4 and 4-2 is pretty different.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean?
How you lose though.
Yeah, of course, but
it's how you lose. Like you're getting blown out compared to just missing by a field goal or you know what I mean? Like.
But we talked about this last year. I mean, how many games in the NFL come down to the last 3-4 minutes? It's most of them.
I mean, lately it seems every game.
And there's blowouts mixed in there, of course. But I mean, even last year, the Jaguars were not a good football team last year.
Yeah.
How many one-score games were they in?
No, right. You know how I feel about those. They don't mean it because I know that's the rhetoric. Well, look, they were 1 score away. Yeah, but you gotta be that team that's not the one that loses by a score. You win by the score, which now means not just making up the what you didn't to win again. So you got to double. So if I lose by 7 every week, you got to add 14.
Right, correct.
Not 7.
I agree with you. I agree with that.
So it's not like, okay, we're going to add 14. No, you're not. No, if it's 3 and you got to add 6, sure, I could buy that. It's a touchdown away.
And it's also, is this happening? Did this happen 1 or 2 times throughout the season, or is this happening all the time?
Correct.
They were finding ways to lose by 3, to lose by 7 all the time. So you don't get to, if you lose week in, week out, and it's always by 7 points or whatever, you don't get to play the card of we're almost there. No, you're not. You're not almost there.
Right.
Because, again, most NFL games are close.
Yeah. Yeah, the talent's very close. That's how they have it set up.
And it's for a myriad of reasons you and I have talked about on the show extensively.
The better teams pick late.
Correct.
For a reason.
Because
they want these other teams to get talent. The top talent. To have access to the top talent.
And you and I have talked about this ad nauseum on this show, but we firmly believe that the last regime allowed players and coaches to be too comfortable.
Yeah.
And, you know, and Tommy, you know this, you played and you experienced these tight games. Those extra gassers you run at the end of practice, that might be the difference.
I know.
In winning and losing a game.
You know how I feel about it.
You know, running a route where you run the wrong thing and drop it, and it's okay. No, do it again. You know, that might be the difference.
Yeah, and we don't have to go back in time, but I think too with the last regime, and not just Doug, is I think the coaches got fed up too. They're like, these guys aren't responding. They're not doing it. We can't do it. They're losing game after game after game the same kind of way. we go up, they give up a lead. I mean, it's mistake after mistake. Remember, you would hear some defensive coaches, weren't always there all the time, like really grinding, did they get fed up with their players? Maybe the players are like, hey, man, no, I'm not doing that extra stuff. I'm not. I don't know. But when someone says, well, he lost the team, well, maybe at the same time, the coach is like, well, I can't. Clearly, I'm not getting to them. No matter, I mean, you got to think they practice everything, right?
Yeah.
You practice everything during the week, everything. And then you go out there and you make mistake after mistake after mistake. You're like, how do I change? I can't change these guys. And then you're throwing the flag. You're like, forget it. We stink, and we'll just ride it out and be done, and I'll probably get fired. And, I feel bad about that, but what are you going to do? So again, I always go back, and I know I'm biased because I'm a former player, but the players are the ones that have to do it. They're the ones that got to get it done. And look, all the excitement now is great. It's great. Everyone's honeymoon. They love each other. Everyone's the best. Everyone's phenomenal. Everyone's going to be great. Well, that's great until it's not. And when you don't win, that stuff goes away. I mean, just think back 3 years ago, how we felt when Doug Peterson was here before 22, as we're getting ready for 22. We were jacked up. We're like, this guy, we're going to win a Super Bowl. You kidding me? Super Bowl champion Doug Peterson is coming to Jacksonville, and we're going to win a Super Bowl. Guess what? We didn't win a Super Bowl. We didn't even come close. Why? All of a sudden, Doug didn't. I don't know. But, it didn't happen. The excitement's back. I'm excited. I am. I want to see it all work out great. You know how I feel. The city rocks when we win. It's way better for everybody, including me and my business. It just is. It's just better. Everybody is so geeked up for this team when they win, and rightfully so. And that's a powerful thing to be a player in that organization, knowing that you have that inspiration, influence to a certain degree. So,
well,
hopefully it all works out. I mean, so far so good. I'm not like, you can't just go by what I've seen so far. But I'm not like, wow, this team's going to be really good. I don't feel that yet. I don't know. I'm not saying they're going to be not good either. I'm not saying that either. I just don't know yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just don't know yet. I don't have a gut where I'm like, yeah, this team's really good. You know what I mean? And even if I did, it doesn't matter. I'll never forget 2018, Vic Ketchman, who was phenomenal. After the great 2017 run, we're walking through camp, and they look good on paper, man. They looked really good, 2018. And I remember Vic Ketchman, Tommy, this team, they're going to be good. Oh. And they weren't good. You just don't know. You just don't know until you get going. So far, so good, though. So far, so good. We'll be back. I'll be back out there tomorrow. I'll be back out there Thursday. Going to check out the mini camps. I love being out there and checking them out and watching them perform. And look, again, it's a great time in the world of the National Football League. Great time for our team. I think the fans are out there tomorrow, so hope you have a great time out there. And I'll be out there on the field as well, and looking forward to it. So until next time, stay safe, Grammage, and be cool, man. And we'll see you right here on Catching Up with Tommy Mac. Peace and love, everybody. Have a great day, and we'll see you on Friday.
Hey, Mia here, and thanks so much for watching 1010XL Jaguars. For even more coverage of the Big Cats, be sure to subscribe to 1010XL Jaguars.